What's up, mi gente? This is your host Andres, and I welcome you to Were You Listening? An exploration of blackness in the songs we love.
One way.
It is a song which apparently says that the only medicine we have is Zouk. Considering all the problems that we have, Zouk helps us overcome the big interrogations that we have, and which stem from all of these issues we face in our modern world. Thanks to Zouk, for a moment, one is able to get beyond and transcend all of these issues. Take a little bit of music, take a little bit of Zouk.
Today we are celebrating. First, we are celebrating our 25th episode of the series. Can you believe it? 25 episodes exploring blackness in Afro-Latin and Afro-Caribbean songs. Just amazing. This has been such a beautiful musical journey. And there's so much more to explore. But that's not the only reason why we're celebrating. We're also celebrating because we just got a grant from the Orange County Arts Commission in North Carolina, shout out to them, to improve and translate the entire Were You Listening series into Spanish. Así que buenas noticias para los que quieren practicar su español y aprender sobre la negritud en estas canciones.
Zouk-La, Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk-La, Sel Médikaman Nou.
And since we are celebrating, we have something very special for you today. We'll be listening to the classic Zouk song, Zouk-La, Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk is the only medicine we have by Kassav. And to help us contextualize the song, we'll have commentary from an interview we had with the founder of Kassav himself and pioneer of the Zouk rhythm, the great Pierre-Édouard Décimus. The musical band Kassav was formed in Guadeloupe in 1979 by musician Pierre-Édouard Décimus, his brother and bass player Georges Décimus, and the Paris-based studio musician and singer Jacob Debarrieux. From its inception, the band seems to have always wanted to capture a sort of essence of the French Antilles. From the songs, which were frequently sung in creole, to the topics in the lyrics, to the instruments they originally displayed, including the woka drum as a clear sign of their Afro-diasporic status, to the infectious rhythm that so many people in the Caribbean and throughout Latin America can recognize immediately. That which is so ubiquitous in Caribbean diasporic music and which resides at the heart of the Zouk rhythm. Although the members of Kassav do not claim to have coined the word Zouk for their music, to talk about Kassav is in many ways to talk about the history of the Zouk rhythm itself. Here's what Pierre-Édouard Décimus told us in an interview in the voice of Thierry Hart, a Charlotte-based dancer and a friend of the podcast.
Et après, c'est le public.
When Kassav was created, 90% of the songs played during these parties originated by young people who were from Kassav. So, from the 80s onward, the public identifies Zouk with Kassav's music. But Kassav never came up with the word itself. It simply invented a musical style that the young adopted starting in 1982 to 1983, and gradually it became Zouk.
That said, visionary Pierre-Édouard Décimus had a clear goal when he decided to create Kassav. According to a journal article cited in the book Zouk, World Music in the West Indies, he wanted to, I quote, create a rhythmically complex, technically flawless music with an international sound, one that could be identified unquestionably with the Antilles. End quote. And he also mentioned in a 1987 interview that with Kassav, he, I quote, wished to defend the colors of the Antilles and the black diaspora on an international market. End quote. And this intention was also reflected in the composition of the group. While in the beginning, the group was formed only by Guadeloupeans, over the years, many important artists joined the band, including Patrick Saint-Éloi, also from Guadeloupe, and singers Philippe Martelly and Jocelyne Berroy from Martinique. Jocelyne Berrois is the only female performer of the group. In today's song, Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou, Kassav achieves precisely that goal set by Pierre-Édouard. With an infectious, catchy sound and with simple lyrics that speak to their Caribbean creole reality, Kassav produces an internationally successful song that can be unquestionably identified with the Antilles. Let's listen. Anouay. Let's go. The song Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou, released with the album Yelele in 1984, fittingly starts by saying, "Let's go." Because as you'll hear, the song feels like a marathon of fun and movement, with its fast speed of 139 BPM, which places it in the Zouk Beton category. But the song also amazes in its simplicity. According to the author Jocelyn Guilbault, I quote, "It is the perfect example of a song based on the greatest economy of means to produce a maximal effect. It consists of two sung melodic phrases, one for the refrain and the other for the verse, and only 8 lines of text, for a duration of 6 minutes and 24 seconds. The song opens with 5 strokes on an acoustic guitar before the pulse of the piece is heard." End quote. And we just heard those 5 strokes, and we now immerse ourselves into that infectious Zouk rhythm. See if you agree with the author. See if you recognize the economy of means, and tell us at the end whether the effect was indeed maximal for you. For me, it sure was. I love this song. Ki jan zot fait, pa ka kompran, sot ka viv konsi pa ni problem. Poutan zot saf, la vi la ret ki jan zot fait pou pesa kembe. How do you do it? I don't understand. You live as if there are no problems. Yet you know life is hard. How do you manage to hold on like this? The lyrics of the song present us with a bit of that Caribbean, Antillean, idealized way of living. In the midst of life's hardships, the character to whom the singer speaks, aware of the hardships themselves, still manages to live with ease. How do you do it? Asks the singer. How do you do it? Asks the host. I'm just asking for a friend here.
Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou, Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou.
Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou, ça comme ça. Zouk is the only medicine we have. That's how it is. According to author Jocelyn Guilbault, the sentence that characterizes the song, Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou, which translates to Zouk is the only medicine we have, while not intended to be a political statement, actually caused some controversy in Guadeloupe and Martinique. Some people thought that it presented the French Antilles in a negative light with its suggestion that dance is the only solution we have. But other authors saw the song differently. Martinican linguist Jean Bernabé, cited in the book Zouk World Music in the West Indies, argues that, I quote, "If, in addition to being a music for dancing and physical contact, Zouk is in fact a practice integrating fundamental elements of the Creole convivialité, the song would be more readily accepted as therapeutic. Such therapy would fit in with the belief that the salvation of our countries must first go through a cultural revolution, a decolonization of minds." End quote. A very powerful statement considering the colonial history of both Guadeloupe and Martinique.
Hey, It's me, Mel, and I'm here to remind you that Were You Listening is a series of the Mixedtape podcast, which aims to center the contribution of Black people and culture across Latin America, the Caribbean, and their diasporas through dance and music. This episode of the series accompanies the episode Zouk Party of our second season. Give it a listen. You'll learn more about the roots and incredible development of Zouk. Of course, I also want to remind you that if you want to practice your bilingual skills, mira, si tú quieres practicar, there's also a Spanish version of this episode. Así que ve y lo escuchas en español también. Okay, let's continue zouking.
Pate connaître, secret la sa, ban mwen plan la, point pesa compran. Ban mwen plan la, mpoko se si jamais un jour mwen tombe malade. I didn't know about this secret. Give me the plan, because I can't understand. Give me the plan, because I'm not sure yet if one day I will get sick myself. Again, I agree with the singer here. Come on, man, share the secret, share the love. What is it? I may get sick too, you know? Actually, I probably will, given my immune system. In fact, I actually did get sick recording this episode last week, which delayed the release by 1 week. I'm so sorry about that, y'all. That's classic Andres right there. Clearly, I really need the secret. Author Jocelyn Guilbault argues that the popularity that ensued upon the release of this song was in part due to a reconfiguration of blackness in the Antilles. She writes that during that time, I quote, "In the field of fashion, several black Antillean models gained prominence working for famous designers." Around 1985, the growing black consciousness and accompanying intellectual ferment spawned the anti-racist movement SOS Racisme, organized by Harlem Désir, son of a Martinican father and a French mother. It was also in 1985, during this configuration black, that Kassav invaded the market with Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou. End quote. Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou, sa kon sa, si se sa mwen anou souke, anwe mi kon sa. Zouk is the only medicine we have. That's how it is. If that's what I have, let's dance. Let's go. I know. That's how it is. As you probably know, this medicinal elixir called Zouk has crossed many borders. It turns out it also reached the Dominican Republic, where merengue singer Wilfrido Vargas produced a cover of the song Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou in Spanish, fittingly called La Medicina, in other words, medicine. In Wilfrido's version, the medicine is not Zouk though, the medicine is a woman. And given that women are the topic of a lot of bachata and merengue songs from the Dominican Republic, I'm not really surprised about this modification in Wilfrido's cover. Let's listen to a little bit of it.
Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou. Sap sap sa. Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou. Sap sap sa. Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou. Sap sap sa. Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou. Ojalá, 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 ojalá. Mi medicina eres tú.
That was fun, right? Who would have thought? Now let's go back to the original Kassav's version.
Zouk-La Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou.
Un malade, un malade, un malade. Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou. Ça comme ça, mais comme ça. I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. Zouk is the only medicine we have. That's how it is. I know. That's how it is. This part reminds me a bit of the way in which Pierre-Édouard described to us why the band is called Kassav, which captures the idea that medicine is good, but it can also be toxic. He mentioned that he first learned from the promoters of the anime Goldorak that the letters K and S tend to make for successful brand names, and that those names needed to have a heartfelt and spiritual dimension. Here's what he shared with us about the name of the band.
Et à partir de là,
I started exploring Creole words which contained these letters. Among those words was the word Kassav. I then remembered that when I was little, the neighbor who was making Kassav would forbid us from playing with the manioc juice from the Kassav because this juice contains arsenic, which is a poison. So when asked why the word Kassav, we say that it's because one needs to know how to prepare what to do because it can either feed you or kill you. By extension, one needs to be careful while listening to Kassav's music because it can either accompany you in your life, but if you're not in the right spiritual mindset, it can potentially destroy you. It started as a joke, but it's a story on which I based my choice of the word for my group.
Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou.
Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou. Ça comme ça. Zouk is the only medicine we have. That's how it is. That's how it is, they sing. But how did Kassav do it? How did they achieve success? Author Jocelyn Guilbault argues that their success, I quote, has been achieved gradually, by relying first on the Antillean public and by recruiting Creole speakers from all the islands. In the same way, the group's popularity in Paris has grown out of the support of West Indians in exile, African immigrants, and other minority groups. Horizontally, as it were, through the quote-unquote small people, as opposed to vertically, climbing the ladder of success with the help of the quote-unquote big people, those in power, that is, the French. End quote.
Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou. Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou.
Attention, stop, encore. Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou. Ça comme ça. Attention, stop. Again, Zouk is the only medicine we have. That's how it is. As you probably noticed, there's a lot of repetition in this song. At the same time, you probably couldn't stop yourself from listening to the whole thing. How it builds up, how it delivers climax moments, and how it keeps you moving again and again. Author Jocelyn Guilbault argues that this musical and lyrical minimalism was key for the commercial success of the song, and it contributes to, I quote, maximizing the gradual build-up of the arrangement and, in a special way, bring to the fore the short, spoken commentaries of the singer. Anwe, mikonsa, anko, in effect signaling attention, stop, stimulating the listeners to maximum participation. End quote. Well, since we had the absolute fortune to interview Pierre-Édouard Décimus for our podcast, I asked him, what's the story behind this song? This is what he shared with us about Zouk-La c'est Sel Médikaman Nou.
une chanson qui a apparemment
It is a song which apparently says that the only medicine we have is Zouk. It basically explains how, considering all the problems that we have, Zouk helps us overcome the big interrogations that we have, and which stem from all of these issues we face in our modern world, such as the environmental crisis, economic problems, immigration, and xenophobia. These are all vitally important questions. So thanks to Zouk, for a moment, one is able to get beyond and transcend all of these issues. Zouk tells us, take a little bit of music, take a little bit of Zouk. But Zouk, in its largest expression, can be very festive for love and therefore nostalgic. So basically, one should listen to Zouk not to bury one's problem, but to better overcome and solve them. Let's liberate our minds from our current problems for a moment by listening to Zouk and let entertain ourselves and then come back to solving them. Zouk is basically like a good night's sleep after working very hard. One feels in better shape.
I just love that whole reflection by Pierre-Édouard. That said, it's time to say goodbye. I'll start with Pierre-Édouard. Maestro, thank you so much for so very kindly sharing your knowledge with us, and thank you also to your agent, Dominique Shah, for making our conversation possible. And of course, I'm also very grateful to the Mixedtape podcast team. My co-host, Dr. Melissa Bilotas, who edited this episode, Susan Maicalcio, who creates the graphics for the episode, Anne Juan Sun, who translated Pierre-Édouard Décimus' interview from French to English, Thierry Hart, who served as Pierre's voice in English, and Carlos Javier Felix, who served as Pierre's voice in Spanish. And to our audience, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really hope that you keep listening to us after these 25 episodes. I am your host, Andres Incapié, and if you weren't listening, now you are.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. To hear today's song or other songs featured on the Were You Listening series, check out the Were You Listening playlist, which can be found at our brand new website, themixtapepodcast.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at mixtape.podcast, as well as Twitter and YouTube, which are easily accessed through our website. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for our posts. This episode was sponsored by Orange County Arts Commission. Thanks for listening. This is Mixtape.